The lecture hall of the Galactic Institute of Interspecies Ethology was a masterpiece of technology and terror. Transparent walls shimmered with the light of distant suns, and the seats were filled with students of 100 worlds, scaled, furred, chitinous, and feathered. Professor Crix Th, a six-eyed Varn scholar, tapped the end of his limb on the podium. Today, he trilled, each of you will present your chosen predator specimen for behavioral study. Remember, these are dangerous creatures. Proper containment fields must remain active at all times. The air buzzed with anticipation. Cages glowed, restraints hummed. One by one, the students revealed their chosen beasts, a four-jawed Krellian stalker, a razor-winged Threx falcon, even a lava-dwelling Skarn drake. Then came the last name on the roster. Human. Cadet Mira Holt. Every head turned. Humans were still the anomaly in the Galactic Institute, primitive, unevolved, fragile, yet unpredictable. The doorway hissed open. Mira walked in, calm as a starship captain before launch. Her uniform was dusty, torn at the sleeve, and over her shoulders hung two furry cubs, one dozing contently, the other chewing on her braid. Crix Th froze. Cadet Holt, where is your predator? Mira raised an eyebrow. Right here. She nodded toward the cubs. A wave of murmurs rippled through the class. Those are juveniles, hissed a scaled student. They're harmless. Not for long, Mira replied evenly, brushing the dirt from her jacket. Their mother tried to tear my camp apart before sunrise. I brought her cubs so we can study what makes them behave that way. Crix Th's limbs trembled. You, captured the offspring of a Dractol apex mother? Alone? Mira shrugged. She's not dead, if that's what you're asking. I just distracted her. Distracted, echoed a voice from the back, skeptical, but edged with respect. Mira set the cubs down gently. The larger one sniffed the floor, the smaller one pawed at her boot. They were starving. She was defending them. I gave her food. She let me walk away. The hall fell silent. The idea was absurd. Every xenobiologist in the room knew that the Dractol were merciless hunters, territorial beyond reason. No being had ever walked from a nest alive, certainly not while carrying the young. Professor Crix Th flicked his mandibles uneasily. Your survival defies logic. Maybe not logic, Mira said quietly. Just empathy. The cubs growled softly. She knelt, meeting their golden eyes. They're not dangerous right now. Just scared. Her voice carried an almost gravitational calm, pulling the room's tension into orbit around her. For the first time in the Institute's history, a predator's snarl didn't echo as a threat, but as a plea for understanding. Crix Th studied her. And what lesson do you intend your peers to learn from this display? That not every predator hunts because it wants to kill, Mira said. Some hunt because they have to survive. We study them, judge them, but we never listen. Humans survived Earth by learning to understand what scared us. That's how we stopped being prey. A faint, respectful silence filled the hall. Then a clawed hand rose in the back. It belonged to Trav, a towering car warrior student. If that's true, human, he growled, then why bring them here? You claim they're frightened. Do you seek to tame them, or prove you're above fear? Mira looked at him, unflinching. Neither. I brought them so we can prove we're not monsters for wanting to understand them. Before anyone could respond, a shrill alarm blared through the hall. A crimson light flashed across the ceiling. Containment breach, shouted Crix Th. The Skarn Drake's field is failing. The floor shuddered as a section of energy shielding collapsed. A roar erupted, a furnace of sound, and molten saliva splattered across the tiles. The Skarn Drake, 3 tons of armored rage, charged forward, tail smashing through desks and force fields alike. Panic erupted. Students scattered, wings and claws thrashing. Crix Th shouted over the chaos. Security. We need. But Mira was already moving. The cubs hissed, trembling. Mira dropped to one knee beside them. Stay. Then she stepped into the path of the drake. The creature loomed above her, heat waves distorting its form. It bellowed, the sound shaking the walls. Every student in the hall froze, expecting to see the human vaporized in seconds. But Mira didn't move. She stared straight into its molten eyes. You're scared too, aren't you? The drake halted, just for a breath. Her voice was steady, grounding, cutting through the panic. You smell the young. You smell fire and fear. You think you're trapped. Slowly, she extended a hand, not toward its mouth, but toward the air between them. Easy. The drake's breathing slowed. The heat shimmer eased. Inch by inch, it lowered its massive head, until its snout was almost touching her outstretched hand. Gasps rippled through the hall. Crixth whispered, impossible. No, murmured Trav. Human. The drake's tail twitched, then stilled. Mira stepped aside, guiding it back toward the containment bay. The cubs whined softly, watching her. When the force field reactivated with a crackle, the drake let out a low rumble, not of anger, but something like resignation. Only then did Mira turn back to the class. Fear makes even gods act like beasts, she said quietly. Understanding turns beasts into something better. The room remained utterly silent. Even Crixth, usually overflowing with corrections and critiques, simply stared. Finally, he spoke, voice trembling. I believe, this concludes our lesson. As the students dispersed in hushed awe, Trav approached Mira. The warrior's claws flexed awkwardly, a car sign of respect. You did not tame it, he said. You spoke to it. Mira smiled faintly. Humans have been talking to monsters for a long time. Sometimes, we just listen better than we should. He tilted his head. And the cubs? She glanced back at the two Draktul young, now curled against each other, purring softly in sleep. They'll go home when they're ready. Maybe they'll remember this. Maybe their mother will too. Trav studied her for a moment longer, then gave a slow nod. Perhaps that is why your kind frightens the galaxy, human. Not because you kill. But because you understand. Mira chuckled softly, eyes distant. Understanding is just another kind of weapon, Trav. The only one we never meant to invent. As she lifted the cubs back onto her shoulders, the class watched in reverent silence. A human, fragile, soft-skinned, warm-blooded, had walked among predators and left them calm. Not by power, but by empathy. Not through fear, but through understanding. And across 1,000 worlds, the story would spread. The human was told to bring a predator for class. She walked in carrying 2 cubs on her shoulders. And for the first time, the galaxy realized what made humans truly dangerous. They weren't just survivors. They were listeners.